the civilian employees of the U.S. Air Force. They're not in the military, yet they take the same oath. They don't wear the uniform, but they stand shoulder to shoulder with those who do. They're patriotic, hard-working Americans. They are the everyday heroes of Air Force civilian service. Forces joined.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this month's episode of Aim Higher. I'm Sheryl Johnson, Marketing and Brand Management Specialist. And today, we'll be discussing one of the most critical topics in modern national defense, cybersecurity. In an era where digital threats can be as dangerous as physical ones, the U.S. Air Force relies on a dedicated team of civilians and military personnel to defend our nation's most sensitive assets from cyber attacks. From securing communication networks to protecting mission-critical systems, cybersecurity is a cornerstone of national defense, and it's the people behind the screens who make it all possible. Today, we're fortunate to have two incredible guests from the 834th Cyber Operations Squadron, who plays a pivotal role in this effort. The 834th is tasked with providing both defensive and offensive cyber operations, ensuring that adversary activities are identified and mitigated while helping secure national assets through cyber threat emulation. Joining us to shed more light on their work and share their journeys into cybersecurity are Mike Hayward, the 834th Cyber Threat Emulation Lead, and Cesar Azaga, the Technical Advisor and Senior Civilian for the Squadron. Mike and Cesar, thank you both for being here. Mike, could you start us off by introducing yourself and telling us how you came to be an Air Force civilian employee?
Yes, ma'am. Sure. I'm Mike Hayward. I'm the Cyber Threat Emulation Lead, also a senior host analyst. I started out originally as an intern for the Army. I used my MBA to get to an internship with the Army program, specifically the CP34 program, which was a 7-9-11 track. So after 2 years, I graduated. Then after that, I applied for the GS-12 position down in cyber compliance branch, which luckily I got hired on for. And then I worked with a couple of gentlemen that was Microsoft SMEs for the 106 Brigade. And one of the gentlemen knew another gentleman that worked over the 834th. And he knew that the training and everything I would like to do, it was like it would align with my goals. So eventually he introduced us, then I applied for the position. Luckily, I got the job with 834th for the cyber protection team. And then from there, I worked as a contractor for 3 years. Then I seen an opportunity where a GG13 position opened up and I applied. And from there, I went from being a host analyst to the Cyber Threat Emulation Lead. So that's what started me as when the whole program from going from GS contractor to GG.
Wow, what a journey. Thanks, Mike. Now, Cesar, how about you? How did you become an Air Force civilian employee?
So, of course, Cesar Azaga, I'm the technical advisor and the senior civilian for the 834th. At the time, just prior to becoming a civilian, I was actually working with the 67th Wing Weapons and Tactics. And a prior coworker of mine had reached out to me and mentioned how this new thing where they were trying to do cyber protection teams, that Cybercom was trying to have the 92nd build these teams. And so it was explained to me, what would be entailed with being on a cyber protection team, and I thought it was really interesting. So back in 2013, I had applied for a vacancy that they had concerning being on a cyber protection team, and I was picked up and initially gained from in the 92nd, where they were growing and building the teams, and that was my start into this world of cyber protection teams doing DCO.
Well, thank you, Mike and Cesar. You both have had such a great journey. But before we move on, let's take a moment for the first of tonight's polls to get to know you, our audience. All right, audience, here's the first question of the night. What aspect of cybersecurity do you find most intriguing as it relates to the Air Force operation? A, protecting sensitive data from cyber threats. B, developing cutting-edge cybersecurity technologies. C, cyber threat emulation and counterattack strategies. D, collaborating with military teams and secure missions. E, ensuring critical infrastructure resilience. Okay, I'll give you all a few seconds to respond. All right, it looks like majority of you selected A. Great choice. Protecting sensitive data is absolutely crucial, especially when dealing with national security. Our civilian cyber experts are constantly on the front lines, ensuring that classified information remains secure from ever-evolving cyber threats. It's a responsibility that's growing more important every day as adversaries find new ways to exploit vulnerabilities. It's really fascinating, right, Mike and Cesar, to see which aspects of cybersecurity resonate with our audience. It just goes to show you how multifaceted this field is. And Mike, your path into cybersecurity really reflects that range of opportunities. Could you share with us how your background led you to where you are today, working on the front lines of cyber defense for the Air Force?
Yes, ma'am. Originally, I joined the Air Force as a communication, navigation, and mission system specialist. I know that's a lot to take in, but easy things, avionics technician on the AWACS. And then knowing that I was getting out the military, I pursued my MBA, which is a concentration in network communication management. And that helped me land my internship with the Army, but also had help from a fellow brother and a cousin that was doing cyber and IT. And they pushed me towards going that route. And then from there, the internship, I was supposed to rotate between different branches. Luckily, I started at the help desk, then went straight to cyber. And my branch chief was just like, hey, I'm not letting you go, so you're going to stay here. And if you know anything about the Army and cyber roles, everything's funnels through cyber. It doesn't matter if it's project management related, business management related, or server management. It doesn't matter. Everything goes through cyber. And then that's what kind of helped me get my exposure to everything. Then also the training opportunities that were presented to me. And once I got my hands on the offensive side of the house, I was like, okay, this is the type of things I would like to do. And also build off on the defense side of the house. So I like to go find the bad guys and also act like the bad guys, which is my current role. And through that, I gained my experience doing multiple things: server admin, system admin, compliance, operation, and project management. So it was a great foundation for me, and combined with ongoing training and everything, so which that helped me get where I'm at now. And even though I initially wanted to avoid IT, it just kept pulling me back in some way, somehow.
But that internship is really important and networking. So yeah, I agree with you on that. But did you have any IT background experience before joining the Air Force, Mike?
Not really, to be honest. Technology and things like that always fascinated me. I used to have the old Xbox where I found out a way to hack it per se. So just having that baseline knowledge and just being curious. I've been fascinated with technology. So my main focus was trying to go the electrical engineering route based off the job that I was doing in the military. But I still had that knowledge, but it also bled into IT. And then once I had my family members push me towards it, and being able to understand everything pretty easily, I was just like realize that IT is the way to go, and the challenges that it offered me every day, which kind of kept me engaged, and that pushed me towards where I'm at now.
You know, that's really such an interesting path, Mike. And it's clear that a lot of the different experiences that you've had led you to the role of cybersecurity. Cesar, I know your journey took a different route, especially with your work in avionics. How did that background prepare you for the role you're in now? And what drew you into the cybersecurity side of things?
So, I wasn't initially going to do avionics. It wasn't something I even thought about. It was something that was recommended to me as a kid growing up. I had computers around, and I thought, that'd be something that potentially I'd want to do, especially with an uncle that was already doing it. So it was kind of in the back of my mind. I was going to school for computer science, but I was also doing a lot of other things. I was a machinist. I worked on cars as a hobby, and ended up being that I found that I wasn't making as good a progress in the computer science. Going to school and actually taking it as serious as I needed to. So I decided to go see a recruiter who told me, based on the discussion we had, he said, you could always go into IT, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for you to consider working on the aircraft, because they have computers, they have systems on the aircraft that you might find of, as another career that you have in your back pocket besides IT. So I thought that was pretty cool. It kind of went in line with what I was already kind of doing on the side and the hobby that I was doing. So I took the plunge, and what I found is that the aircraft had a lot of Unix-based type systems that I was troubleshooting, and there was a methodology that I had to employ, logic trees and wiring diagrams, and all of that troubleshooting and critical thinking from the avionics world really paid off. I did it for 6 years, and then an opportunity to cross-train was available, and I cross-trained into IT. And when I came to San Antonio, I was working for a 3-letter agency doing IT before it was cyber. And so I ended up doing that for a few years, and then I ended up getting out, becoming a contractor and doing cybersecurity as a contractor. And what I found is that a lot of what I learned from working on aircraft helped me with troubleshooting and finding activity of interest when I was working in cyber later down the road.
Thanks, Cesar. That's really interesting, right? So it's great to hear your path, how it really unfolded. Mike, you touched on some of your experiences earlier, but I'd love for you to dive a little deeper. Can you walk us through what you're doing as a cyber threat emulation lead? What does your day-to-day look like, right? How does your work help the Air Force stay ahead of cyber threats?
Yes, ma'am. That's first you got to understand the role as a CPT and a defense cyber operations. We got 4 main principal functions that we do, which is the hunt action, which we actually go find the adversary, the clear action, when we remove the adversary, so the bad guy out of our networks, and enable hardening actions, or provide recommendations and remediation actions to shore up the network. If you identify any holes in the enterprise environment, how to clear those and make sure the adversary is not getting it. Then the assess piece, which falls under with the CTE. With CTE role, I actually emulate and replicate APT action. So there's trade craft from a host nation or adversary out there. I try to simulate and replicate their actions as much as I can into the environment from a mission partner standpoint to identify security holes. And from there, I provide the recommendations and remediation actions to make sure the adversary can't do anything. So my daily actions is identify CTE members, training CTE members, identify a process, how we go about our actions, researching APTs, and identify which APT we'll use on the network, and also make sure the guys and gals are trained up. But the biggest thing is make sure we just hit those points, make sure we identify those holes in the mission partner, and then replicate and make sure there's no intrusion actions, but really just make sure the network is sure. And if there's any adversaries in networks, what they can do in the network, and if they are able to do those actions, what we can do to detect those guys and remove them and provide those actions so it don't happen again later down the line.
That's incredible, Mike. Okay, so audience, for some of us who may not know what CPT is, it's Cyber Protection Team. And you mentioned also, Mike, APT which is Advanced Persistent Threats, right?
Yes.
Thank you. It's clear that your work is all about staying ahead of potential threats. Cesar, I know your role also involves a lot of critical oversight in leadership. Could you share more about what you do now, both on the technical side and in the advisory role? And how do you ensure your team is ready to face the challenges of today's cyber landscape?
So for me, I'm wearing 2 hats, like you mentioned. I have the technical and the administrative or leadership side. My role on the technical side is to provide as an advisor for the director of operations, the team leads, and the OPSOs. I provide recommendations based on the experience that I have from within cyber. I dig from those lessons learned from previous missions and operations that we accomplish and ensure that we're not overlooking anything in our planning. And potentially during instances where we're talking about executing in an environment, I provide advice and recommendations in that side as well concerning particular systems, protocols, whatever it might be that's in that environment that's unique, anything that helps the team focus on what is relevant. My role there is to provide it as an advisor, provide them guidance towards helping them be successful. And then on the administrative side, I have civilian members that I am trying to help from a professional and a technical standpoint, provide them recommendations for furthering their career, not just in the CPT world, but as a civilian. And I advise the leadership as a whole, my commander, all of the top 5 within the squadron, and all of the enlisted and officers towards helping them be successful working with civilians in our squadron.
Yeah, so I love that you have that technical expertise, right, Cesar, because it helps when you consult your the hiring managers or the people who are filling those vacancies, because you have that expertise. So that's great. Now, Mike, you've clearly got a critical role in protecting the Air Force digital infrastructure. I'm curious, with all the challenges you face, what do you find most rewarding about your current position, and what keeps you motivated in such a fast-paced and evolving field?
To be honest, I should say, I think everybody would expect me to say the systems and everything that I touch and am able to see, some of the areas and locations that I go. But the most rewarding thing for me is actually mentoring and meeting the different amount of people I get to see every day, and also want to go out to different locations. The biggest thing is mentoring the younger civilians, the military members and contractors that are new to the cyber protection worlds, or even just cyber as a whole, and also collaborate with the different mission partners. I think that's the most rewarding thing. And then you get to see a lot of these younger members take the knowledge and experience that we have as experienced civilians and military members, and they actually execute. So they ask for advice, about the advice and guidance, and from there they use that to achieve their goals, and that's the most rewarding thing. I get to see it daily. Just had a going away today actually for 3 members that got selected to be warrant officers. So I know that I had an impact indirectly or directly with these gentlemen achieving that goal. And they ask for my advice if they should or shouldn't, or ways to be on the cyber CTE team, different things like that. But it's just rewarding to be able to see that I actually able to help these guys and gals achieve their goals and achieve their success. And also, of course, knowing that I have impact protecting our national assets is incredibly feeling. It's a very, very incredible and rewarding feeling.
That's great to hear, Mike. I think we could use mentorship as well as mentoring civilians and military members, because it's great that you value that, right? So that's great to hear. Cesar, you've also had such a unique journey in your role, balancing technical expertise with leadership. What do you find most rewarding about your work, and what drives you in your role, especially when it comes to supporting both your team and the mission?
One of the things that I find very rewarding is the impact that you have on people, which then has impact for the greater community. Mission, you wouldn't have a mission success if the people behind the computers weren't making it happen. So I have had the opportunity to mentor, just like Mike was mentioning, and build people and see them from where they started, potentially as an intern or somebody that doesn't have very much experience, executing on cyber protection team missions, or DCO for that matter. And just being able to see them grow as a leader. In some cases, they take one path and they're technical, but they have a stronger suit on the leadership side, versus I see some people that are very technical, and watching them provide some kind of brief and getting outside of their comfort zone. To me, it means a lot, knowing that I was able to assist them in getting past some of these challenges that they've had and helping them develop as cyber professionals. The systems, it's a journey for both of us. Like when I say gratification, is some of the systems that we're faced with, and the team that we have go out and and execute within those environments, it's like a big win for everybody when we're able to accomplish the plan that we set, and our team's able to go out there and make impact towards improvement in some of those environments where they had little visibility and understanding, or in some cases had little understanding, and when we went there, we provided them additional understanding and tools to help defend themselves in the future or truly understand the condition of their environment. So it's twofold.
I love that. Speaking of rewarding, let's pause for the last poll to learn what it is that you're looking forward to in a cyber career with the world's most powerful Air Force. Okay, audience, here's the last question for the night. What excites you the most about a career in cybersecurity with the Air Force? A, the opportunity to work on national defense level projects. B, collaborating with highly skilled civilian and military experts. C, the chance to innovate and stay ahead of cyber threats. And D, contributing to a meaningful mission that impacts global security. All right, audience, I'll give you a few seconds to answer and let us know in the chat your answers. Let's see what we have. Wow, majority of you chose D, contributing to a meaningful mission is really what sets the Air Force civilian careers apart. Knowing that your work has a direct impact of global security is incredibly rewarding. It's not just about protecting network, it's about protecting people, nations, and the future. That's a mission you can take pride in every day. That's exactly what you, Cesar and Mike have been talking about, right? You do what you do, but it also, you value your work so much that you want to make an impact, right? Not just for the work that you do, but you want to make an impact on the people. So thank you everyone for your input. It's clear that there's a lot of interest in qualities that make someone successful in this field. And Mike, you've had such interesting journey. What characteristics or traits do you think someone should have to follow in your footsteps? And what makes a strong cybersecurity civilian?
Oh wow. I can't listen. This is my opinion only. I think some of the key characteristics trait that you need is having that ambition, being a self-starter, the discipline you need to actually want to achieve certifications or achieve that level of success that you would like to be in cyber, and mental agility to being able to be quick on your feet, understand that you'll be put in really stressful situations, and be able to understand that, hey, I'm having this issue right now. I can't get this command to work. I can't find this adversary. There's numerous things, but being able to pivot from one point to another point to get and achieve the success you would like and the outcome you like. And the fact that the landscape of cybersecurity literally changes every day. I know the old saying is yesterday's price is not today's price. Well, what was working yesterday is not working today. You gotta have a clear understanding that technology changes literally every day at a blink of an eye. And also knowing that this is a perishable skill. So that keeps me on my toes. So the good thing about mentoring and working with these civilians, military members, and contractors, they ask me a question, and if I don't know, they looking at me, why you don't know this? And you've been here in the military, serving for over 18 years as a military contractor, civilian, and an active duty member and a senior operator analyst. So they pushes me to make sure I'm staying up on trends and technologies that's going on. And then also, you gotta understand in this career field, you understand you might be an expert 6 months, but if you haven't done that in 6 months, you literally lose it. It's crazy how fast your skill set and your knowledge goes. However, you still have that foundation of learning. You understand that, hey, I learned this before, I can learn it again. It's like reriding a bike, but if you don't use it, you literally use it. And then also that I'm a very competitive individual. As my time I was a former Air Force boxer, and it's one of those things that it forces you to compete with yourself. And cyber, you have to compete with yourself. You have to push yourself to achieve new goals. And I think both professionally and in the organization, they do that and they recommend that and they push you towards that. But also the discipline and being adaptive is very critical too. So without those, it's hard to succeed in this field.
I love that, being disciplined and being adaptable, right? It's not just being, we don't just use that in our professional work life, but also at home. You got to be disciplined and be adaptable, right? But before we go on, we have some questions from the audience for you, Mike and Cesar. So first question, for a current college student participating in cyber, do you have any recommendations for certifications they should pursue if they want to explore the cybersecurity field? So what kind of certification do you guys recommend? So either you or Mike or Cesar answer that question for the audience.
Okay, I would recommend going with the baseline certifications. Depending on your level of knowledge and familiarity with IT, period, I would go with CompTIA A+, Net Plus, and from there you can upgrade into CompTIA Security Plus. And that will get you more into the cyber domains, understand everything that's going on. But also not recommend, I would also recommend looking at vendors that out there that provide training, hands-on training. So like tryhackme.com, pentesterlab.com, I'm forgetting what hackthebox.com. There's multiple and different vendors that provide this training at low cost or free. So I would recommend doing that and simply get on YouTube. It's free. One of the best learning platforms out there. I've identified a reputable YouTuber out there, and that will help aid you in your process. But for the cheaper, because you're a college student, so safe to assume that you probably have the most funds in the world. So I would say going that CompTIA route, and then from there, use it to help guide your path, but also do the research, identify the market value, identify vendors and what companies are looking for. And also you got to look at yourself, what do you want to do? And it's hard to gauge that unless you start getting hands-on experience, but what do you really want to do? What the position you see in? So research those certifications and see they're aligned with the things that you would like to do and your outcome, your goals for the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Next question. What is the recommended path for gaining cyber work experience to meet the minimum qualifications in job postings that we currently have at AFCS, not in the cyber role, that are interested in applying for? So what would be the path that you recommend gaining cyber work?
A lot of individuals will start out with being in a help desk. So when we're talking about, sometimes depending on your level of proficiency, I know that certifications are important, but the experience that you have working, even entry level, can lead you to the next step. So somebody that is trying to figure out how they're doing the patching and the system administration, that leads, taking it from the help desk to system administration, and then taking the projects that they're doing, certain projects, your home lab, using those projects is another great way to help lead you down and assist you towards the path of being marketable in some of these positions that you may or may not have quite as much experience doing, but something you want to get into. So certifications are helpful. Sometimes starting in a position which is entry level with the opportunity to expand into other more complicated, more tier 2, tier 3 level positions that then take you down the road towards opening the doors for like cybersecurity positions in particular.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you, audience, for those questions. Cesar, do you want to add to what makes a strong cybersecurity civilian? I know Mike touched on it. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think Mike was saying this, and flexibility is critical. That drive, somebody that's inquisitive, that wants to understand the why and the how it's taking place. If you have that kind of an attitude and you have a positive attitude, that's critical. When you have a positive attitude, you're somebody that's humble, that can learn from the person next to you. When you can say, like, I don't know. There's so much to learn. There's always somebody that might know something else that you don't know. So having a humble, attitude to learn from others and be approachable and pleasant. A lot of times, some of those key basic things go very far in being successful as a civilian.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Cesar. Mike, you mentioned earlier that technology and threats are constantly evolving. What does the Air Force do to help you stay current, and how do you keep up?
The biggest thing is we stay in current. We really stay current in several ways. We approach it by having training ranges. We also have currency events and proficiency events. We also have RBT events that we participate in, but we also have the availability and the funds to go to different trainings that the Air Force will supply and pay for. It also is up to you to take advantage of that. And then the ecosystem that we work in, we work with so many different individuals and levels of experience and knowledge. Having that training range and having those people in there, we usually do what we call tactical teaches, where someone may learn a new process or a new technique, or there's a new tool out there to do threat hunting or offensive-based actions. And that member usually go through the training, identify, use the tool, put in a lab environment or put in our training range. And then the things that they learn and the process they learn, they actually provide a tactical teach to the entire squadron. So you might have 100 people viewing how to become better. But I would say that we have plenty of opportunities. Then also like capture the flag events, which is gamership to it. So you might have a vulnerability or exploit that you might be able to take advantage of. But with the gamership, they try to make you think and have that mental agility and dexterity to solve that problem to get to the answer you need. But I will say the Air Force as a whole, in our wing and our group, does a quite phenomenal job supporting and encouraging training and supplying us with the opportunities to take advantage of those trainings. So, and that's why I stress that, hey, you have to be a self-starter mentally in order to continually improve yourself, both technically, professionally, and personally.
I love that. Thank you, Mike. Cesar, how about you? What opportunities have you been given to help you grow?
So Mike hit it on the head. There's plenty of vendor provided training that we have access to. And so that's awesome. There's also plenty of professional development training that's offered by the government. And that, can help you for, hey, I want to learn particular different ways of leading a team, team building. There's tons of opportunities for professional development as well. We have access to conferences. Sometimes there's conferences that are government specific where they're only for the government. And so that is another resource that working for the Air Force is awesome, because it's additional training experience that I get from going to those type of events. Another thing is just the people. We have mentorships. Like some people look at apprenticeships, for a trade, and so they work under a journeyman, and that journeyman will provide them the training experience they need. Same thing for the government. There are members that are senior master level operators. I try to take advantage of somebody that's experienced next to me that will sit down, take the time, or have one of my members that is came to the squadron and they're potentially a new civilian. I will try to pair them up with a mentor that will help lead them down the path and teach them things to make them better. And so the professionals in the government have that they want to share their knowledge and their experience. And so you don't always have to go to, external to get training and the benefits associated with working for the government.
I love that you and Mike love education. I'm a big fan of education, and I think we should always be learning, right? Before I go on to my next question, we have a question from an audience. question is, any suggestions on positions to get started in?
I would say if you can find, depending on what you're looking for, everybody's life is different from everybody. So I would say if you're trying to break into it, you take an opportunity, apply to development positions, internship positions that the government offer, or even private sector. That will help aid you and guide you where you need to be at. So as Cesar, Mr. Azaga stated earlier about going help desk route. I think that's the best route, to be honest. You go to the help desk, understand the tier one levels, and then from there you can bump into your co-workers and, hey, I would like to be a network admin. What do you do daily, and what certification do you recommend? What advice do you give? And I think that'll be the best way to get where you're going, because this is a lot of information when you get into it. It's so many layers, so many depths, and just a breadth of things that you got to take into to become a cyber professional, and it can become overwhelming. So I would say take baby steps, crawl before you walk, walk before you run, before you jump into the cyber domain. Now, if you have experience, I will try to just find positions, opportunities that align with your experience, and then go from there. But the biggest thing is just getting your foot in the door and getting next to those people that are SMEs and asking those questions and being humble about your approach. Like, hey, I don't know this. Can you help me? And once you do that, that will help and project you to another level. And then you'll gain that skill and knowledge. And who knows, the opportunity might be presented to you in your current organization, or opportunity might come through networking, or, outside of your organization, you might come fall into the government. So I just say go that route. I think, to me, and that's helped me to get where I'm at. And I think that, this is my opinion, I think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, well, thanks, Mike. But I have a follow-on question. So I'm curious, how does working as a civilian in the Air Force compare to the private sector? In what ways does your role with the Air Force stand out compared to similar positions outside of the military?
Um, well, my network is pretty much all government employees, some form or fashion. A lot of my colleagues, friends, and family members pretty much work for the government. Being from a military town, everybody pretty much work on base, or somewhat work with or have been military. And I only have a few people that worked in the private sector. But I know one distinctive thing is, when I know in the private sector, you're pretty much pigeonholed into one skill set. So if you're a threat hunter, you might be focused only on the networking, or certain traffic that's coming across the wire. Or if you are a malware analysis, that's all. That's all you do, reverse engineering malware. Compared to us in the private sector and being a part of the CPT team, you literally got to be good at everything. You got to have knowledge, some sort of knowledge, and some sort of foundational knowledge. I wouldn't say foundation, some intermediate knowledge to advanced knowledge of pretty much everything. And it's a beautiful thing because it pushes you to be great, pushes you to be better. And I think that's the biggest thing. And then also working with the military, working with civilians, the opportunities that the government provide, I think that's the most beautiful thing compared to other areas. So, and also I can't lie, the traveling is one of the best things ever. So I can't complain about it at all. So like I said, it's
Yeah,
the big pigeonhole, and having that skill set of being good at everything, or having the availability to be good at everything, compared to being pigeonholed. I think that's the biggest thing between government and private sector.
yeah. And don't forget, you love to travel, so you like that travel part. So
Yes, I'm
thanks,
telling
Mike.
you.
Very insightful. Cesar, how about you? How does your experience as a civilian in the Air Force compare to what you see in the private sector? And what do you think makes working in this environment unique?
So as mentioned, a lot of times people have a particular job and that's what they focus on. They don't look to the left or the right. That's their specialty, or that's their focus. That's what they get paid to do. And so sometimes when you have, you don't have the full understanding of all the systems, it can limit you and your understanding of really what's going on. So it's that's the challenge in a lot of places in the commercial sector, is that you have defined role and responsibility, and you get paid to do that one thing. And with the government, it's different, and especially within cyber protection teams, even if you do DCO in a lot of the organizations, depends on what part you focus on. So you might be the person who does the vulnerability scans, you might be doing the patching and the updates, but very similar, sometimes that's all you do, and you're working for the government. And we've seen that in environments that we've gone into. We have several people working in an office, and one person is a network admin, the other person does the scanning, another person does another portion, and they don't all understand exactly how their roles intertwine and how they feed each other. And it's not until you actually work on a CPT where you gain a bigger understanding of how it all supports the mission being successful. And so that's something that I find very special, unique, and whether it's in the civilian sector doing a particular job where you only do that one thing. There's also that same issue with a lot of the jobs that we have in cyber as well. But I'd say what we're fortunate in a CPT is having to learn beyond just that one. Hey, I know the network infrastructure side very well. I know Cisco very well. We come across a lot of different systems that we have to continue to learn on and expand our understanding on why it works the way it does. And then as time goes on, you start looking more and more towards why is the traffic happening on this network? And these are the systems that are doing it. Why do those systems do it? So you find yourself, like Mike mentioned, expanding to understand more and more, not just the network systems or the endpoints, knowing both sides, and then taking it a step further and going into understanding how the attack side works in order to be able to defend appropriately. Then it becomes just part of defending, is understanding the threat becomes part of defending.
Yeah, I agree. Wow, that's quite the contrast to private sector, right? Mike, you find yourself interacting mostly with civilians or with military personnel. How does that balance work?
It's different. Being former aircraft maintenance and also working for the Army as a civilian, there's not a lot of opportunity to sit next to or even speak to GG-13, let alone your lieutenant, your commander, who's a lieutenant colonel. So it's like it's a beautiful thing because I literally sit next to a first lieutenant and a GS-11 right now, and also I work with senior airmen, and master sergeant, tech sergeant, that we all in this ecosystem that work together. So it's a different construct than a normal military chain of command. But it's beautiful at the same time because you get to see who's who, what's what, and also you get the thought process of senior enlisted members, junior and senior officers, and junior and senior civilian members, and also contractors. We all work together. So that's the most beautiful thing. I get to interact everybody, and then also when we go to the different mission partner sites, we get to work with different vendors and different civilians. Might go to a mission partner site where it's contractor led, or it might be military led, or it might be civilian led. So it's a beautiful thing because you get those interactions, get an understanding, and you get to meet people, and just get work everybody daily that also you can take from and help. Like I said again, help you grow personally and professionally in our roles. So it's just basically a melting pot of everyone working together.
Thanks, Mike. Cesar, is it the same for you?
Yes. So one of the things that's, working with contractors, military, other civilians, but like in our environment, specifically for our missions, we work with different kind of leadership, but even in the government. So we're not just focused on working with professionals that are with the Air Force. We could be working with civilians that are in the Army, Navy, different departments, departments that do things differently. So the people there, they even have a certain kind of different way of doing business.
All right. Well, thanks, Cesar. We have another question from the audience. Question is, how demanding is your work? And do you have time to travel, spend time with family, and explore hobbies? That's either for you, Mike, or Cesar.
You go, Cesar. You answer that question.
So I think one of the it's nice because in our operations there's a reconstitution phase, and when you go out and execute, you have a particular time that you're actually doing mission, and then you have time set aside just so that you can come back, get your, spend time with your family, set aside time so that you can go on vacation. All of that is flexible, and really it comes down to working with your leadership, working with your team, understand what the demands are, and basically setting it up so that you have that time that you need in order to go and have time with your family and have time for your hobbies. And really, I can't speak for the other services, but as a government civilian working for the Air Force, family is important, and it's part of the culture, is making sure that we take care of the member, and taking care of the member is also making sure that they have enough time to do the things outside of work. Because again, if they're not happy, they're not going to be able to be as effective on mission. So having that downtime they need, having that time away from work is crucial to recharging the battery and being ready for the next thing that comes up.
Yep. I love that. Mission first, people always, right?
Absolutely.
This question is from Mike. Mike, if you could give yourself a pep talk when you were just starting out, what would you say to yourself?
I would say just don't stop. Don't be discouraged. You're building your legacy, not just for yourself, but for your children to follow upon. Don't stop learning. Continue attaining the certifications. Continue to do different things that challenge yourself, and understand that things doesn't go always as planned, and things change quickly. So whenever things do change, um, take a step back and understand that things is going to be okay. Stay positive and keep going. Don't let anything hold you back.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Cesar, what advice would you give your younger self?
I think I've always, just cared about people, but I think take more time with the people that are around you. It's easy to get so focused in what you're doing, and you have a small, brief opportunity to work with certain professionals that go off and do other things, and it's not uncommon for you to hear about somebody that you used to work with, and all of a sudden now they're with a particular company doing a particular thing. So networking is crucial. So I would tell myself as a young, I would say, do a better job networking. Your networking is crucial. And, just to have, reevaluate those goals that you said, even if they're short-term goals, verify where you're at with some of those goals, why you had established them, and continue to push and reassess those goals and verify if they're still going to meet the needs that you had set for them to address. And so those would probably be the things that I would say: the networking and re-examining the goals that I set frequently, and making sure that I'm heading down the path that I had planned.
All right. Well, thanks, Cesar. One of the questions, and I think it was asked a while ago from the audience, but we can elaborate. We get is, we have work-life balance, right? That's one of the benefits of being an Air Force civilian. But how would you describe your overall job satisfaction? And that's for Mike.
Be honest, it's great. I actually could say by far, hands down, one of the best organizations I work for. There's a reason why I actually left at one point, went to a three-letter agency, and came right on back 6 months later, because I knew that the things I would like, and also having that work-life balance. And it was like, this is one of the best that I can do, with the people, the mission, the goals, the traveling, the the empowerment, specifically, I can call out Mr. Azaga for empowering me doing the things that I would like to do, or sometimes I didn't see myself doing, but he pushed me to do those things. And also, I think personally, we have that balance. Granted, we are out, we do travel, we might do CONUS and OCONUS missions and different things. But like he said, do we have time to set aside time, or a window that's blocked out so where we can plan a vacation, do things with our family members, take care of appointments. But also when we do come back home station, they do give us the leeway. They allow us the leeway to take care of things. We also have the opportunity if we need to do specific training. So you have a great balance and we work with. So as long as you speak to your leadership and everything else smooth itself and work yourself out. But I can say once the day is over, for the most part, your day is over. Once you clock out at 3 o'clock, 4, whatever time you leave, your day is over. And then also, like I said, the travel opportunities are great. You get to meet new people, see new places, try new experiences, see different cultures. If I honestly, I would recommend this organization and work for a CPT to anybody. Like, come on board. We look for more people that's love to, join the cyber domain world and join our organization.
Well, sounds like you really love and enjoy your job, Mike. Cesar, what's your take?
I would say that the opportunity associated with like the systems that we're working with is phenomenal. And when you look at when you look at some of these missions that we've gone on, it's easy to take it for granted. But there are so many interdependencies and C2 systems that we're working with. When you start looking at what it's actually providing you, and going out, and that sense of achievement associated with going and looking at it and then coming back and reflecting on what is that you facilitated. Like it's very eye-opening. And so ultimately the big thing is taking the time, giving 100% when you go out to these systems, learn as much as you can, and then coming back and resetting, reflecting, and figuring out what you could do better. And you have plenty of time associated with when you're working on a team like our CPTs. You have an opportunity to come back, debrief, learn more from what you just did and from the others, and then get better. And it's a process in itself. It's a vicious circle where we're continually working together to get better, learn from each other, get a better understanding of the systems that are out there and how they all have their interdependencies and how they feed each other, and they continue to gain more and more understanding of the whole ecosystem in itself.
Awesome. Thanks, Cesar. So we're almost at the end of our program, but I have a question, and I'm going to give each one of you 30 seconds to answer it. I'll start with you, Mike. Do you have a moment in your career that stands out? A moment where you knew and you realized that you were making a difference? Mike, 30 seconds.
I want to say the first mission I ever went out on, seeing the network that I was protecting, the activities we found, we was able to provide recommendations of future events to prevent future events and everything. And then also it's a daily reoccurrence where I get to mentor these young members and you see them exceed the expectations. So it's literally a reward every day. I get to wake up to see my advice and my experience applied through different individuals and see them exceed and excel and everything. So you can honestly say that the hard work is paying off. So it's very rewarding daily.
Thank you, Mike. Cesar, 30 seconds, same question.
So I can't forget the awesome experience that I had doing avionics. And I would say one of the things that stood out from there was, fixing an aircraft. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning and I'd finished fixing it and going and seeing it take off. I was standing next to a senior master sergeant, and one of the things he said was almost like a movie. He was saying, "Tell me when dinosaurs made a sound like that," and the aircraft was taking off, and that was very memorable for me. But at the same time, it stood out because of the job gratification associated making that happen. And then with CPTs, I was part of building and seeing this the CPT mission evolve. And so from where we were at before to where we're at today is night and day. And I feel very honored to be a part of something that I feel has evolved us as a cyber organization.
All right, thanks, Cesar. Well, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you, Mike and Cesar, for sharing your insights with us today. I'm sure our audience found this conversation as valuable as I did. And a big thank you to everyone who joined the conversation. And shout out to our AFCS recruiters, Jessica and Barry, for helping answer questions from the chat. If you missed any part of today's webinar, don't worry. We'll be sharing the full recording and all resources on our website at afciviliancareers.com. AFCS is filled with opportunities, whether you're ready to dive into cybersecurity or explore any of the other fascinating careers available. Mike and Cesar are living examples of the real difference civilians make every day. Mark your calendars for our next live episode, Taking It to the Skies. Civilian flight instructors help future pilots bank on their experience. And this is being hosted by my colleague, Ryan, on the first Wednesday in November. It's going to be exciting, and on how civilian flight instructors are shaping the next generations of pilots. In the meantime, make sure to connect with us on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can find more career tips and the latest job openings. Thanks and good night, everyone.